Welcome back, subscribers. This is Johnny Hopper, and I've got a couple cool guests with me. I've got Coach Rob Beams. I got this Chris Cooksey sitting next to me. So we're going to talk about the silly season. That starts right now.
Well, yeah, since you just called me an asshole, let's go right into the rider who literally got left out in the whole. I was going to say, I don't know that really works. This off season and did not get the ride they were hoping for, or deserved a ride. And do you want me to go first with my guy?
Yeah.
Okay, so Garrett Marchbanks. Garrett Marchbanks won the Daytona Supercross. He had 2 podiums. How many 250 riders out there are more qualified than him? And listen, the Club MX Yamaha team is a good team, and but it's really not for a guy like him. Like, you're talking to a guy that's winning Supercrosses and should be in contention for the championship, and had 2 contracts literally ready to go with Pro Circuit or with Star Yamaha, and he ends up on Club. Are you serious?
Well, didn't he win Daytona last year?
Yeah. And 2 podiums on regular Supercrosses.
But I've also heard rumors that, like, the Pro Circuit team, it's pretty much you either show up or they kick you out.
He did show up, though. You won a race. Did you see the guy he beat? Chase Sexton, straight up.
He gets through their green once again. Garrett Marchbanks. He had the first heat race victory earlier today. A quick look over the shoulder. No need. You're a Daytona winner. Garrett Marchbanks picks up his career first 250 East victory.
Sexton, who won the last national, unfortunately he got hurt in Utah. It was a pretty bad injury to his knee, but he's back. He's ready to go. Like, it's crazy how short the memory is in this sport. Yeah, one injury and you're done.
You're only as good as your last race. I mean, we all know that.
That's such bullshit, Johnny. I get it. I agree with you. It's so short-sighted. Okay, how many? Let's see. Gas guys. We got Michael Mosman, Pierce Brown. He's going to outperform both those guys.
On his Club MX?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes. He's fast. I love Max Voland, but as a rookie, do you think one season, your life depends on it, you going Max Voland or Garrett Marchbanks?
I mean, I haven't really seen Max Voland ride, but I know he's got a couple Loretta Lynn championships, and I'm going to be devil's advocate here. I'm going to go with the factory KTM rider as Max Voland with that versus Marchbanks.
Well, how about if Marchbanks had that KTM?
See, then we get into the argument with experience.
Well, okay, well, you know what? Let's have that argument, because he's going to do good on the Yamaha, and I think he's going to do just fine. But he deserved a ride. So let's say if he had that bike, that's a level playing field.
How old is Marchbanks?
18, maybe 19. Yeah. He might have just turned 19.
I think he's under 20 for sure.
Oh, he's absolutely, yeah. He's 18 or 19. He's young.
Yeah.
He's younger than Seth Hamilton.
I mean, I'm not arguing with you. I definitely think Marchbanks got screwed with this whole COVID, lack of money. We made a whole new team with gas, but there's still like less rides available.
Okay, well, let's look at Pro Circuit. You got Faulkner, Jordan Smith, Cameron McAdoo, and Seth Hamaker. There's only one guy on that team that I would, if given the same bikes.
It's Faulkner, right?
Faulkner's the only guy that I believe. Maybe Jordan Smith, McAdoo, maybe. But so, I would take him over all those guys, except for Faulkner.
Marchbanks got hosed to make room for Seth. That's what you're thinking.
No, he got hosed on every level. He should either be on Star. Star was negotiating with him. I was told, and I don't know how much truth there is because I didn't actually see the contract, that he had a Star contract ready to go, but they were going to finish out the year in Supercross, then make the decision, and he got hurt. And it's funny how that stuff disappears as soon as you get hurt.
You're only as good as your last race.
Yeah, that's true. It's true, but it sucks. And then they gave that ride to Christian Craig, which he's deserving, but that's a good... Now, for one season, would you rather have Christian Craig or Garrett Marchbanks? One season.
Craig on the 250? I mean, he to me, Craig right now is
That's
definitely
fair. That's
the
fair.
Mike Brown on the 250. These guys that are like entering their 30s and they're still in the 250 class. I mean, that's another argument
exactly.
with the rule. But
Okay, now let's look at Rockstar Husky. R.J. Hampshire, he's probably as deserving or more. Jalik Swool and Styles Robertson. You're trying to tell me Marchbanks isn't more qualified than both those guys?
no, I mean, there's no argument there.
Okay.
Yeah.
He got hosed.
I
It
mean,
sucks. Marchbanks,
RJ
go out there, show them what's up, and get back to the top. And team managers, you should be ashamed.
There's definitely some room if you were to take all the teams to be like, why didn't Marchbanks get on something? So that makes you wonder what kind of contract talk was involved with, I needed a certain amount of money, or this wasn't, there had to have been something else. I can't imagine that was the only deal on the table was Club MX.
No, there's no chance that was the only one on the table. I know I've been critical of his agent. I've never met his agent. But to have that kind of talent with that kind of results, listen, unless he got caught with a crack pipe on TMZ, he should have a ride. That's it.
He does. Club MX. Top 10 for whatever coast that he goes to.
I love that team, and I'm not taking away from that team. They had some great results, but that is a second-tier team. Winners of races shouldn't be on second-tier teams.
It brings back even Stewart as where Malcolm, remember when he didn't get a ride from winning the Supercross series? I mean, obviously it was the 450 class when he was moving up, but he didn't get a ride. Not arguing with you, it does suck.
There was politics involved. I'll just say that. I don't know all the details, but I did hear a lot of the politics. Garrett's representation was less than stellar, and I've been on record saying, if I have an agent and I'm that good and I win a Supercross and podium a couple other ones, if I don't have a ride, I'm sorry, man, you're fired.
Well, and I think that's where it gets a little bit behind the scenes, where I don't think it's, and maybe the negotiations, I think, are what cost the opportunity more than him getting a shaft based on his riding ability. Because as you've articulated going through each one of these teams, he would have fit in on every single team we've discussed already. Doesn't matter what color, he would fit in there. The question is, why didn't he get the opportunity? Again, I've not met his agent. I don't know him from Adam. All I can say is he's not on a factory ride because something broke down. It isn't a talent issue. And I'll even go so far as to say, and we've talked about it off the record, there's been a lot of new opportunities that have arisen, but he didn't get an opportunity to fill in one of those.
So are you guys thinking that sometimes this is more of an agent problem than a rider problem?
Yes, and a cool kid's problem. And that pisses me off in this sport. Garrett does his own thing. He's from Utah.
Well, why can't you be your own agent? I mean, I was never fast enough to
A 250
hire.
rider should be his own agent.
Do you agree with that, Rob?
100%.
Well, think about it. And our buddy Mike Grondal had a great point for this. You really don't need an agent. Those teams are turnkey from head to toe.
Let's just face it, the industry is small anyway. So we're not talking professional soccer or football here. This is Supercross and motocross. There's only so many connections to be made.
Well, and take it a step further, I almost look at it as a 250 rider needs to earn the respect of an agent to want to work with them versus the fact that these agents keep going younger and younger and younger and younger. And we're going to do a future conversation about how upside down the amateur development is. You find...
So like an agent comes to you at 10 years old, and you're pretty much stuck with them your whole amateur career, and then the kind of deal is
exactly
they do your pro contract.
So you want to pay a guy to go negotiate with one team, because that's literally your only opportunity for money in a 250 deal. So you pay a guy, how many teams are there? 5 teams, and this dude can't find you a ride?
After winning Daytona.
After winning Daytona, he's fired.
He gets you a second-tier team, which, I mean, granted, I would have loved to have been on Club MX, but as somebody that has won races, this is sort of got to feel almost like his last shot before he is literally dropped off of Supercross, at least the map, as far as getting another ride.
Well, you almost have two ends of the spectrum. You have...
I mean, you're at the bottom of the knot of the rope with this.
Well, you have two ends of the spectrum. You have the athletes that have been brought up through the amateur program,
and they get 1 year essentially, and they're clipped. You've done a couple videos on this exact subject. You get 1 year, you get clipped, but yet you've got somebody that has the experience, even has the win, and because of negotiations or lack thereof, the opportunity doesn't open itself up. Where's the happy medium on that? We've talked about the idea these guys come through the amateur program. They're seeing new venues for the first time, kind of taking a line from AC. You realize everyone's racing you as if you slept with your girlfriend and they're out to kill you. Remember that after his first national when he made that comment? Well, you're taking these young guys like a Jalik Swoll, a Styles Robertsons, people like that. They go in there, and yes, there's a very, very steep learning curve. Then you have the expertise with somebody like a Marchbanks, and yet he doesn't get the ride, and the other guy gets clipped. I mean, I know we're going to talk about that on another show, but you think about that. It goes beyond the scope of did he just get hosed, or let's go a little deeper, why did he get hosed? And I think that's the takeaway with him.
So, not digressing too much, basically we're saying agents just suck for the sport.
No, I'm not saying that. There's some good agents, but there's some real douchebags.
For the 250 class.
Just in general.
Just in general.
Some good ones, some really good ones.
So, just moving on, who is your number one rider that got hosed for the Supercross series?
I mean, you can't help but go with Hartranft. I mean, when you look at a guy, opens up the series with his 7th place, ends up finishing up with 2 podiums, represented, let's not forget, just last year we were all talking about as a privateer, he was the top finisher consistently, gets the nod of TLD, goes out and he performs, he delivers. And now all of a sudden we're sitting here a year later and he's got no offers.
Does anyone have better nicknames than him? The Heartthrob. They were calling him all sorts of good stuff.
What happened at that last motocross race? And I heard he was getting in trouble for running that TLD special KTM with, what was it?
Yellow background.
Yellow black background.
I think that was the whole TLD team, but Rob knew about that. I didn't know about that one.
Yeah.
Well, it's just kind of silly. It's one of those situations where...
I mean, the rules state that you're not supposed to have those color backgrounds.
But the thing
There's
is,
rules? I thought it was suggestions, guidelines.
Okay.
We'll get into the semantics. Yeah, exactly. Well, and again, I think if we're going to go back to Troy with Troy Lee Designs was very vocal about, he just wanted to look different. He wanted to, out of respect to the old USGP and stuff like that, he just wanted to have something cool. He was not trying to be belligerent. He's not trying to get away with murder or anything like that. He just tried to change it up. And they said, not no, but heck no, you will not do that.
But they still let him race.
That particular one, but they said you will not show up at the next race like that.
That's so...
Otherwise, there was going to be financial ramifications. Now, that's not my opinion.
I get it, so that you don't have somebody out there with a muscle shirt on and
Listen, I'm with you. You have to have some sort of guidelines
rules,
as far as what to do.
But after the whole silly season with what happened with Osborne, with hey, I'm gonna be in the practice B, but I'm a pro, and B riders can't go into pro practice or qualifying, but that's what we're gonna let them do it. And the rules specifically say no. I agree. They're more guidelines, and if you're in on it, they can be stretched. Page 12 of the AMA Motocross Rulebook, Section C, classes will be seated based on timed qualifying. Class riders will be divided into 2 practice/time qualifying groups, Group A and Group B. Riders in practice Group A must participate in time qualifying Group A. Riders in Group B must participate in time qualifying Group B.
Unless you watch practice, where his bike wouldn't run. And yes, we only had 1 practice today because it rained so much they canceled the first practice session, and they also canceled the last chance qualifier race to get a gate. And the rule is that even if you're in the top 10 in points, you have to complete 1 qualifying lap, no matter how slow it is, to get in. And they could not get Osborne's bike fixed. He ends up riding the B practice, which came later.
Okay, so I got to go back to something you said there. They're going to fine the team?
They were saying that there would be financial ramifications if they came back and did it again.
You're going to have financial ramifications for a team you don't even pay?
Well, there you go.
We saw the purse, the breakdown, and you probably have that, Johnny. Johnny's put it up in his other videos.
Yeah, it's
so you're gonna fine nothing. Like, how is that justified? That's horrible. Like, to even threaten that is bullshit.
Well, but think about it. The only 2 ramifications they have is going to either be a financial penalty or not allowed to line up. I mean, so you start looking at.
But the riders are so scared of not being able to race, they could do it.
That's where I think there's an ironic twist to the whole conversation point. It's not like we came out and tried to bring a Works 450 to the starting line and jeopardize the integrity of the race. We had a different colored number plate, and I know there's going to be listeners that will say, well, if you start that, then where does it stop?
So maybe what we're saying is I only get a slap on the wrist if I show up with a 350 KTM and I sign up in the 250 class. I just move the stickers.
There you go.
That's fine.
Semantics and interpretation.
Well, hey, as long as you don't get up on the podium spot where they tear you down, I would imagine a couple 350s will probably already race.
They tear them down? I know they say it in the rules, but do they?
Oh, I have been torn down in a supermoto race in the unlimited class, really.
All right, well,
Because they were afraid
Chris still has some things he hasn't gotten over yet. We're going to talk about my rider that got hosed. It's going to be Carson Mumford. I don't know if his contract was longer than just this year or last year for Geico, but with Geico falling out, there's a lot of riders that kind of got hosed with all that. I mean, Shimoda, I would guess, would be potentially one of them. Obviously Mumford. Looks like the Lawrence brothers, they made out pretty good with just moving from factory Geico Honda to HRC Honda. But I know Mumford hasn't really shown as much promise as he did in the amateur class, but him moving to Michael Lindsay's team on Chaparral Honda, I'm like, dude, you should just show up with a Sprinter van and your own bikes.
Ouch! Ouch! John.
I'm sorry. Okay, maybe I shouldn't go that far. Obviously, there is something to be said with having some better equipment, but I'm just saying, moving from a factory team to an up-and-coming team is the equivalent to moving to Club MX.
No, Club MX is a lot better equipment, I would believe. That's
Chaparral Honda, you're thinking?
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, so you're kind of with me there with the whole Sprinter van comment.
Well, I'm not trying to listen.
I appreciate.
Mumford, show up on a
hold
350. Just change the stickers.
Just don't podium. We're good. Go fourth. We're good.
And don't have you.
No, I appreciate when new teams come to the sport, and I'm not sure where Michael Lindsay has come up with all this and the headache that he's been through, but it's nice that he's actually offering rides for guys. What level that ride is, I'm not sure, but he's still doing it. So I appreciate it, and I don't want to take shots
I've
at
heard
people who do that.
some horror stories from some of the previous riders. So again, I'm not gonna mention any names. Private message me. But
and I'm being nice to Michael because Michael took a shot at me in Pulp, and I texted him and I said, "What are you doing, bro?" And he also took a shot at you, and he apologized for taking one at me.
yeah, that is true. So I mean, why don't we just stir the pot some more? He hasn't apologized to me, and I didn't even ask for an apology. You kind of forced an apology. I saw those texts. You basically said you were going to kick his ass.
I did not say that. I reminded him I'm slightly larger, and yes, I'm sitting on a lowered stool here, people.
That was by design. Yeah. So Rob and I were,
in the same screen, maybe?
Yeah.
I'm bigger than your average motocrosser, but back to Mumford.
Okay.
Okay, so Mumford he had a 1-year deal, which that blows me away that you can even have a 1-year deal after being in the amateur program for 6 years? Then
It almost sounds like they knew something was coming.
They were going to re-sign him, I was told, except the Geico fell out, and then everyone got cut.
And Geico really didn't fall out because they're going to be the title sponsor for motocross, and they are already.
They currently were.
Yeah, like they currently were, but I believe next year they've signed another deal. I'm not entirely
sure. Is it
sure.
increased money?
I don't know that. I just know that they're not behind a team anymore. They're like, hey, we don't need to sponsor a team and do the whole 15 minutes or less for the motocross thing. So.
Well, they didn't leave the sport. We didn't see them.
And I don't know if they were like a huge. I guess I'm digressing.
No. It's very direct right onto why Mumford doesn't have a ride and why Mumford got hosed.
Well, and it also sheds light on the whole amateur program being completely ass backwards. Like you said, 5-6 year investment, get a 1-year opportunity, and now unemployed. It's just, and Styles Robertson, he's obviously, from what it sounds like, is going to make the cut. I know Jalik Swole was on the bubble there for a while. Jordan Bailey got 1 year and clipped, not sticking just on the Husky team, but just going on the history of it. somebody who's come through the ranks, was the next baby Jesus, and then gets 1 year and gone.
Look at football, baseball,
Well, and
basketball
I mean,
teams.
that almost happened to Anderson a few years ago.
Did
in the
luckily
250 class.
Bobby Hewitt is very
With,
loyal. If he was on any
with
other
the rock
team, they'd have
star.
flipped him.
Yeah, and then look what he turned out to be, a Supercross champion in the Premier class.
Well, show me another sport where your first round draft pick gets 1 year. There's not one, because it doesn't happen. Sometimes you'll get somebody who will really do good, but for the most part, they sit the quarterback, they get him ready, and in 2 to 3 years, they perform, or you at least know what you have in 2 to 3 years.
Can we take it a step further?
Yeah.
Here's what really screws it up. You've got a lot of guys that are willing to race for free. You've got somebody that comes up through the amateur ranks, gets a relatively decent salary. Now, because we're paying you and the other guys are racing for free, you're now a liability. So we find ways to creatively not let your bike do quite as well as everybody else's.
So you really think that happens?
So, yeah, I was going to elaborate a little bit. Are you literally saying, are we talking about sabotage here, where we're going to put water in the gas tank?
Not so much the word
dangerous?
sabotage, not sabotage. When we go underneath a factory rig, we would expect to see that if there's 3 bikes, they're all going to have relatively the exact same everything on them, from ECUs to suspension to everything on the internals and externals. And then all of a sudden, because you're now a liability, you're a salaried rider, now all of a sudden, we're not going to re-sign you for next year. We're halfway through the year. We know we're not going to re-sign you, even though you've come through the amateur program. Well, now all of a sudden you start seeing the bike doesn't have, and it's interesting because what we do is we see it on TV and we're like, wow, rider XYZ, he just isn't in that top 20. Well, he's on a factory ride. Why is he not where
You just take off
the
his,
other
like,
riders are?
His unlocked ECU.
All of a sudden, he
kinda
doesn't
stuff.
have an ECU. He doesn't have, whatever internals. I'm not privy to all the internal pieces and parts. But you've got a rider who's never come to a venue before. Somebody who was finishing quite well, considering it was his first year, all of a sudden just kind of falls off the radar. So the impression is, oh, well, he just didn't step up. He didn't perform. But then you start asking behind the scenes, well, why don't I have this on the bike and that guy has it on the bike? Well, you don't get much.
So they're like
explanations for that.
de-upgrading the motorcycle.
Absolutely.
Is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, not making us switch gears a little bit, but I'm going to go back with you, Chris. Least rider worthy of their current factory ride.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy! We're not worthy! We're stuck! We suck!
You're going right over best signing.
I want to start with the worst first. This
Okay,
is
well,
the Hopper
then
channel.
We're going to go right back to these rookie guys and the amateur system, bringing guys in. The reason I'm not trying to pick on Jalek Swoll. I think he's a nice kid. I like him, and I'm glad he has a ride. But if you compare him with a Garrett Marchbanks or some of the other guys who are left out in the cold, Brandon Hartraft, who is actually being forced. Did you mention where he's going?
No.
He's going to end up on HEP Suzuki 450 because there wasn't a 250 ride available. Yet Jalek Swoll with
Again, that to me, I'm like, you buy a factory edition bike and you go do your own deal. Like Benny Bloss, didn't he do his own deal for a while at the
whole season.
motocross?
Yeah, the whole season.
For the Husky, and then now he's back on. Now he's on Smart Top Honda. I know I'm interrupting. I'm just
No,
saying,
that's fine.
why would you go ride a Suzuki?
It's a 450 though. He's a bigger guy. I think he'll be fine. And that Hep Suzuki team, they're really good. Like they did pretty good in the outdoors. And yes, I have been extremely critical of that Suzuki. But in the 450 class, I don't know, man. I'll tell you what. Right now, if you're Brandon Hartraft, you take whatever's available because there's nothing available. I mean,
Is that a COVID thing, or is that just where we're at in 2021?
God, I wish I knew. I don't know.
I think it's
The industry's cranking. We're selling bikes, we're selling products. Nobody knows how long it's going to last. The season is weird. We don't know if we're going to have spectators or not.
It's interesting that you think that the industry is cranking because, yeah, the bikes are being sold, everything's kind of on back order, but up front and center at the national professional level, it looks like it's withering away.
Because what people forget is racing
is nothing more than a marketing tool. And what happens when there's instability in the world, whether your business is booming or not, the first thing you do is start holding on to that expendable money, that marketing money. We go, yeah, let's wait till next quarter to spend it. So they're cutting these budgets. That's why there needs to be an actual purse, and there's a whole other topic we get into about there's money in this sport, there's entertainment value. It's not its own stupid little ecosystem that provides off of sales of motorcycles. You need to sell the entertainment value and make this a feasible career for riders without their sponsorship, like every other sport. Yes, you should be able to get outside sponsors and make money, but that shouldn't be the only way to make money. There's entertainment, there's you can sell the gold packages, you got ticket sales, you got merchandise sales, you got all these things that can go back to the rider, and they're there. And I want to see, and I've run the numbers, and I figure right now, and we're getting completely sidetracked, but I figure we get about 8% back into the sport from entertainment value, where almost every other sport you look at, they're 40 to 50. I think if we could get our sport to 35%, we could have 40 riders that made a decent living off of prize money.
The sport's too dangerous. Like, I respect all of the riders that line up, even if you're a 50 rider doing the amateur stuff. But it's hard for me to kind of justify what you're getting into, what I know now. But moving on.
Well, can I say just one thing on that?
Go for it.
What other pro sport has their number one athletes paying to go participate? Take it to any ball and stick sport. Take it to any other motor sport. What other riders, drivers, racers, athletes are paying to go?
Do you have to
compete?
pay? Does the Tour de France have an entry fee?
The team has a team. Excuse me. The team pays a fee, but here's the difference. You and I just can't put a team together and go get into the Tour de France. We have to qualify. We have to show the team's credentials, and there has to be financial sustainability to even be eligible to be in the Tour de France. There's not a single team, and I may be wrong, maybe DM me, tell me I'm an idiot. I don't know of any truck driver, any mechanic, any manager that's going to the races for free, but we ask our riders to ride for free. Sorry, I just needed to get that out.
And let's be honest, if I'm going to watch a Supercross, you take away the riders, what do we got?
Exactly, but what sport asks an athlete to come participate, fill up, let's say it's golf, fill up the sides of the driving, all, and we're going to ask, as you say, one of the most dangerous sports, which we all embrace, we love, it's part of the thrill, it's the adrenaline rush. But this is where I have a little bit of a disdain that our riders, and Johnny, you've brought this up on several videos, our riders have acclimated themselves to being okay to go race for free. Well, maybe we'll throw you a bonus if you get up there. What other sport requests that of their marquee athletes? And this is where you were talking a little bit earlier. It's kind of like when the fuel surcharge on the airlines. It never got rescinded when the fuel went back down, so we just accepted that that's now part of the expense of flying, right? So when you look at the fact that we have athletes that are paying to go race or racing for free in hopes of a bonus, I just ask the listeners to stop and think, what other sport that you enjoy to watch is willing to do that?
But I can't think. I mean, the Olympics, they don't get paid.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they do.
They get paid substantially. That used to be the differentiating factor, whether you stayed collegiate, so you would be Olympic eligible, and now it's so distorted. I mean, Michael Phelps, I don't know the exact millions of dollars.
That gold medal comes with a fat check.
Well, it comes with a fat check before they even get there. Once the gold medal is achieved, then the endorsements go up even up front. Michael Phelps was doing Subway commercials before the Olympics even happened.
I know, but then we're getting into
but now you're talking endorsements. I'm talking about the sport paying. Yeah. Like the money he got from, like Connor Fields, our buddy. He had a gold medal and he got money from actually the gold medal prize money.
Yes, he did, but this brings another dynamic.
But that sport is kind of tough. That's actually the other sport that I can think of is BMX, where you have to enter and pay, and that's...
Well, but here's the difference, not to be argumentative. When Connor Fields makes the elite team, he's getting a monthly stipend. He's getting things, that's the benefit of being on the Olympic team, is you get a stipend for food and travel and expenses. We don't have riders getting stipends of anything from anyone. So yes, he's not getting a salary, but he's getting deferred costs. Well, you know how it is, Johnny, you're a money guy. You make money one of two ways. Either make more, cut costs, right? So we're asking our guys, they have upfront costs all the way to get there.
Yeah.
Then, hey, race for free, and we might throw you a bone if you do well while we make a lot of money filling up the stands. This is completely upside down and backwards.
Least worthy of a ride.
Vincey Freeze.
But down goes Pike. Oh, and he is not happy about Freezy at all.
That's going to cost him. This, though, was totally intentional by Freezy. He goes in really aggressive, way too aggressive. And, of course, Pike, his emotions overcome him, and he lets loose.
Drives me out of my mind.
Hold on. I got to hit the brakes on this one. EBC brakes.
Sorry.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Why you got
Little cliche, but I mean, I respect the segue there. That was a good segue.
Yeah, EBC, by the way.
And again, it's nothing against him as a guy, as a rider, or anything else, but we've just spent the first 20, 30 minutes of our show here.
You just Weston Piked him is what you did.
Well, but I think he deserves it.
I'm trying to think of a 450 rider who would deserve that ride more than him.
Well, where's Justin Brayton going to end up? If the Penrite team doesn't come over because of COVID, they're an Australian-based team, where's Brayton going to be? He's been on that team before.
Savachi, I mean, he got hosed from Cowie, and then his career.
Okay, you're right. You got me. Savachi is actually more deserving than Brayton, but he also comes with a
Well, I was
bigger.
saying that with Freeze too.
Yeah, with Freezy, that's what I meant.
Yeah, that's
but
all
he
I'm
also
saying.
comes with a bigger price tag,
Well, but then
and they
again,
may have priced himself right out of a ride. I don't know.
But I mean, Rob was just saying that these guys are wanting to or okay
Yeah.
with racing for free. So
Point taken. Point taken. Vince doesn't ride for free. Vince has a aggressive bonus program. So if he does not get results, Vince does not get paid.
well, and I'm just saying as we look at the context of our show here today, just in regards to opportunities versus value versus ROI, I don't see Vince being a guy that's going to bring the marketing attention. You know, we've talked off the record. I'm working with a couple satellite teams, and that's one of the things that we're talking
He's a top
about.
10 guy.
Right. And the idea of having somebody that
I would say Davlos would probably even be better potentially on a team like that.
But then he also creates a lot of value in the sense that he's a really good tester, and he's a guy on your team. And think about this: if you got 3 other guys on that team, and we all know his reputation, you expect to beat Vince Freezy if you're a factory rider. If you've got Vince on your team in practice day, you think everyone's they're gonna haul ass because they do not want to get beat by Vince. Like that's gonna elevate.
Do you think
your
that's
whole level.
why he rides dirty? Is because he's trying to like just.
Okay, if you watch him the last 2 or 3 years, he hasn't ridden that dirty. It's a reputation alone. Just like people think you and I are assholes.
You
It's
are
on
an
reputation alone. Only if you're an asshole to me first. But yes, I can be. But I'm
I think
not.
he's actually, you know, we've toned him down to size.
Since you made me sit on the baby chair.
well, but let's take that a step further. You don't see Ivan Tedesco taking one of the Cowie rides because he's a good test rider, and you don't see Trey Kennard getting one of the rides because he's a
Hold
good
on.
tester.
Can Ivan Tedesco lead and almost win Monster Cup last year? I don't think he can at this point.
Well,
He's still getting better, Rob.
no. I just, not to dilute it. I'm just saying, you said that the value of him being there is as a test rider versus keeping a Brayton or a Davalos off of one of those
I didn't say
opportunities.
necessary. I said he fired, like, he might be a good tester. I don't know. But I said having him, like, if I'm on that team and I'm McElrath, you think I'm going to have a bad day and let Freezy be faster than me? He keeps everyone else on their toes because they don't want to, like, he's the Mendoza line.
Like I'm gonna lose my ride if I can't beat.
If you
Freeze.
if you can't beat Vince, you're out of here.
Well, but then that's where I have a problem with if I'm Mike Alessi or if I'm Tony Alessi running a team and my guy is considered the benchmark of whether or not I'm worthy of a ride or not, I think I get rid of him.
But I mean, on
And then the whole team drops, though.
you've got Hill
Not the team. I
on
don't
that
s-
team that's.
Well, because you got a guy like Hill that needs that extra motivation. You trying to tell me he won't slack? But he won't slack because he knows he
I mean,
needs to
Hill
be ahead
has
of-
potential to. I mean, we've seen it before while you're still on the 250 to almost come up and win, but since there hasn't been as much greatness being shown, and I mean, Freeze, I would say is going to do better than Hill in a bunch of races this
No,
year.
no.
Yeah, something's going to happen to Hill. He
crashes.
he's going to be up
he
there.
looked really good last year.
No, I know. He looks great. He's faster for sure. But it's not about just lap times. You've got to go the distance.
Well,
and Hill's been shown that he's having a hard time with the distance.
Like-
But he's got a baby now, so he might be able to tone it back a little bit and make sure that he...
Like Coach always says, you need that base fitness, right? He didn't have that last year. When he joined that team,
They took him and they got him tested, trained, VO2 max, all this stuff. Because Tony's pretty sharp. I don't know if you've talked to him.
No, I've not.
Tony should probably reach out to Robbie. He'd probably help your team a lot. But he needed that base. He didn't have a base. He started to get it towards the end of the year. You see his results go way up, and hopefully this year he's got the base. If he did it in the offseason, yes, we'll know pretty quickly.
But here's where I have to be an ass.
This is the only place?
Yeah, this will be a good start. Do we really need to have somebody cattle prod these guys that want to make a living, that fitness has to be an issue? When we just talked of all these people that are deserving of a ride, and I've got a cattle prod a guy that's been in the sport, he's seen his brother and he's seen the route that went with poor decisions. We all will admit Hill's got the genetics and the talent.
You're right.
But to go back to what you said earlier, if I'm Hill and McGrath jumps on the team, my motivation just went up to the stratosphere. I don't give a rat's ass about these other two guys, no disrespect. If I'm Hill, I'm used to being the top dog on the team when I want to be, or I show up, or the moon's aligned right, or the music sounds right, or whatever it is that motivates him. And that's not a disrespect for Josh or for Justin. We've all seen, talent-wise, absolutely. When he wants to ride, and as he says, he's having fun and he's comfortable, we know he can fly. Whether or not that's always on every weekend, what do they always say? Champions, they good or bad days, they're always in it. With Justin, it's either he's hitting a home run or he's striking out and walking off. When you've got McGrath added to the team, and you know me, we've talked about it on our show, I'm a big fan of Benny Bloss. I think he's going to elevate that. So in regards to Hill having motivation with now Benny behind him, with McGrath beside him, I think he's going to have all the motivation he needs.
So, least worthy of a ride, I'm going to have to go with Aaron Plessinger on the Yamaha.
Really?
I think that there's some other riders that should have gotten that spot.
Aaron Plessinger.
He's got, I believe he's still in a contract. And I know he's had some injuries and everything, but I really think Shane should have been on that team rather than him.
I'm speechless. I don't even know what to say, Johnny. Aaron Plessinger, out of all the guys that are...
Well, but think about this, though, because you have a good point, though, Johnny. When you look at...
He just hasn't been able to show the results.
Well,
and if we're going to do the 250 treatment onto the 450 guys, that would be the guy that gets cut.
If you were
But I know he's in the contract.
So
I'm just going hypothetically. I mean, even at that point, you could maybe even say, I'm not even going to go because I'm going to piss everyone off.
But I have to agree with you, because if you think about it, if we were having this conversation towards the end of the second year when Cooper was on the Yamaha 450, he didn't have the results. They were dismal results. Remember, you have Aaron that went from 250 champion to 450, same result that Cooper did going from 250 to 450, and results are pretty dismal. I think it's legit.
There just hasn't been anything exciting. I know we're at 35 minutes.
But we're back to the Yamaha, Johnny.
We are back to the Yamaha
We're back
because
to the Yamaha.
hopefully Star Racing can do the 250 magic and turn the 450
It's the
team.
Midas touch.
Could be.
The Midas touch.
Could be. But, I mean, Barsha didn't believe it because he had to go somewhere else. Anyway.
Hey, it's funny how Barsha, as soon as there's a contract that needs to be signed, he wins. He's fast.
Nothing new.
Sign the contract.
But you can't say that because it was a couple of years ago that he was out.
The only
everything.
year he didn't was on the Suzuki. Let's just say he was on a Suzuki. Every other year in his career, when there's a contract up, he gets really fast.
Good segue. Best signing for 2021.
You shouldn't have.
Shane McElrath.
For Moto Concepts?
Yes.
Really?
He's so good at Supercross.
You don't think he should have gotten on the Star? Just moved from 250 to 450?
Yes. He should have been on a Star, Factory Honda, Monster Cowie. I'm saying it's,
So
it's the best sign for the team.
Oh, okay.
Not necessarily
All right,
for
not the rider.
Shane, but it's the best. Like if I'm Tony Alessi and Mike Genova, did we get that wrong? Did I?
No, you're good. You have your unique way.
No, I was confused about that because I'm like, best signing for Shane. But I mean, if you were the team owner,
Tony
best
got
signing.
a home run.
Yeah,
Tony got a home run on that
to get
one.
a Shane.
Maybe even a grand slam on that one for Tony.
Oh, okay. So I baited these guys, and they were thinking the best signing for the rider, and I was talking about like best signing for the team.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, I get
so
it.
we're okay. Well, yeah, that was by far the best for the team, and he's going to get him podium results. He gets starts too, especially with that team.
And he's a good Supercross rider. Good Supercross rider.
Supercross only team, but they said they're going to do some outdoors too. Did you see that?
I did not see that.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
That'd be cool.
Rough. Best signing.
Best signing I have to go is going to be the Lawrence brothers. I mean, you got to think about it.
Is it an upgrade from the Geico to now being just right underneath?
That's
the
my
Roxon
understanding. Is it's going to
tent?
be full factory Honda, HRC,
Direct
R&D,
line
the whole
to
9 yards. But think about it.
Japan.
Okay, so that's a best signing for them, not Honda. Honda's dumb. They're losing a whole
Yeah,
bunch
see,
of guys.
your whole look
and
on it
getting
was
two.
different.
I get it. We're arguing. We yeah. I should
Yeah.
clarify.
Best
But
signing
when
for
you
the
look at that,
riders,
because
the
you
brothers.
got Hunter, who's known to be really, really good outdoors, and then Jet ended the season really solid outdoors.
I mean, then maybe that would be a better, least worthy of a ride would have been Hunter then at
well,
that point.
but the challenge is you're not going to get Jet without Hunter, just like you didn't get Hunter over here without Jet.
I know, but this is an adult sport.
Yeah,
So.
no, I agree with you on that.
It's-
But unfortunately,
are
if you're
you-
dealing with the politics of how that team signing's
Yeah,
going
but
to go.
are you really going to sit there and I mean maybe Jet might be like, hey, I'm 17 years old. You get if you want me, then
Well, I think
and maybe
if-
Club MX could get both of them.
No, I think it's the best signing for the Lawrence brothers because there were some discussions behind the scenes that they may only take one and let the other one go. So it kind of changes the dynamics a little bit. To me, if you're getting the power for the buck, you got a dynamic duo that's going to be pretty hard. They've got a cool agent. He seems to really, he looks out for them. He's got their back. You look at Honda, how do you argue with the HRC type of a program? I think they've got some work to do on the horse band side of it. We saw that with Jeremy where he just got outrun by Ferrandis on that Yamaha.
Yeah, and Honda doesn't make a 350.
I didn't know there was a horse band on a bike.
Horse band. Thank you for that. I apologize for the debacle on that.
Sorry.
No, it's
Hey,
well
you guys
taken.
lost my balls. I got to return it
Just
a little bit.
segue into my best
Yeah,
signing.
what is yours? Yeah.
What's your horse band?
My horse band?
Yeah, who's your least worthy horse
Don't
band
don't
rider?
make me try to say Ferrandis and maybe I even said it right that
You
time.
did. You nailed it. Good
You
job.
did. You did.
You just didn't think about it. So
I
you needed
just-
us in
I
the
just didn't
studio
think about
to
it.
change stuff.
Red KTM, Barsha. I think that was the best signing for you. Honestly, for yours is for that team. Okay, I can't. If I was a team manager of Gas, I would have gone with Ferrandis. That would have been my best signing
If you could afford them.
if I could afford it.
Okay.
But as a rider, Barsha did wonders landing onto that Gas team because he's off the fat ass Yamaha. And that he could kind of make work, and then I don't know
Hey,
what was going
if he
on.
needs a contract, he can make it work.
Yeah. Barsha, I just
Hold
think
on,
that
hold
that's going to... He's basically now under the Webb umbrella,
Marvin.
yeah, everyone. They're all pretty much... DeCoster is looking
it's like
over
one big
everybody.
team with
Yeah.
different
I
colors.
mean, Bobby Hewitt's out of Husky, so I believe he's kind of overlooking that. So I don't know how you're going to have one guy's attention spread out that far, but it's been proven to work in the past. I think Barsha being on essentially the same equipment as Webb and Marvin and even some of the Husky guys, if not better, I say it's a win.
I would say it's best signing for Barsha, but not for Gas. If I'm Gas, I get Joey Savacci for way less money. Then I grab, there's a guy that was a 4-time champ who is looking for a ride and money. You're trying to tell me that won't get more
You
promotion?
talking about Dungey?
Yes. You're trying to tell me Dungey, Savacci, you could probably get for what you paid.
Dude, that would have been epic. I mean, I would have personally gone to more races just to see Dungey on a red bike.
And now, what would get the red team more publicity than that? You think Bam Bam throwing whips?
No argument there. That honestly, that wins it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this segment. Let us know in the comments below who you thought was the best signing, who the worst signing was, some of your key moments of the silly season that has been this year, and maybe also one of the riders that you thought got hosed as well. Until next time, this is Johnny, Rob, and Chris. Do you guys want to... Bro?
Won't even try it. I'll bop it up.
Bro!